Hello, viewers. Good evening. Wherever you're joining us from all over the world, welcome to the Protocol Roundtable. Good evening, viewers. Welcome to the Protocol Roundtable, the flagship program of the Association of Certified Protocol Practitioners in Nigeria. This is a body of protocol professionals from both the public and private sector that is geared towards promoting and enhancing protocol practice in Nigeria. A Protocol Roundtable is a place where we take a deep dive into contemporary issues in protocol and diplomatic practice in Nigeria and Africa. In this month's edition, we'll be looking at very important issue, travels. We'll be looking at protocol travels. Is it just about tickets? Is it just about getting the visa? Is it just about boarding the plane? These and many more we will discuss. And my guest is ready, so do join us on our YouTube channel, ACCPN Nigeria, for this educational, empowering, and interesting insights. My guest is Oluwatoyin Ojo. Tony has a background in communications and has over 10 years experience in travel management. Tony is currently focusing on emerging destinations, marketing, and corporate governance. Tony is an alumni of the prestigious University of Lagos. She also has a diploma from the Nigerian Institute of Journalism. Tony is a travel expert, somebody you need to have a conversation with as long as travels is concerned to any destination in the world. Good evening and welcome wherever you're joining us from. Good morning, good afternoon. I know where Tony is. This is morning, I think. So welcome, and we're good to go. We're ready. Tony, are you there with us?
Everyone, good afternoon, depending on what part of the world you're
Sorry, Tony,
joining
can we
us.
see a video?
Good evening. Can you see me now? I'm up. Good evening,
Yeah.
everyone. Yes, and good afternoon, good morning, depending on what part of the world you are joining us from. Yes, thank you, and it's a great honor to be here, sharing on travel protocol. My name again is Oluwatoyin Ojo, and I have the honor to be here, sharing with everyone. Travel is as old as time. We can start the slide, please.
Okay. I have your first slide. Okay. Are we okay? Objectives.
Yes. Yes. Travel, first and foremost, to introduce, is as old as time. Travel has been since man even came into existence, and for the modern term, travel became very, very popular with the Grand Tour. I mean, if we are all familiar with the Grand Tour of that the British, took part in back in the day, then you will know that. I mean, initially when I got this, I thought, oh, am I up to speaking to a topic, as old as travel? But then, yes, we all have something to bring to the table. So if for any reason, if what we're going to be taking home tonight, from this session, is even the reminders of how travel has evolved over the centuries, or even sharing from life scenarios. I'm sure we would have done justice, to the issue of travel. And for the purpose of this call, travel protocol, pardon me, for the purpose of this call, I'm going to be addressing these objectives. We need to address the pitfalls in current travel practices. you know we need to also clarify some gray areas that that will come about in both local and global travel trends. We need to be sure of what is acceptable, what is not, and what used to be and is not no longer you know trending or acceptable. And then we also need to future proof how we travel, what we do, you know, both when we're taking individual and business travel and all. Please, let's move to the next slide.
Yeah, we're on the next slide, introduction.
Yeah. Um, like I mentioned, travel is as old as time, and travel is sharing new and meaningful experiences with people. It is not just a movement, it's a process. It is not just you picking up your passport or moving from point A to point B. It involves a due process, and that's exactly why we're having to talk about the protocol end of travel this evening. And I would also like to add this: travel is the loudest voice. I came across this expression during a recent study, that travel is the loudest voice in communicating a country and, any organization, for instance. And at this point in our own nation, I think this is the best time to be viewing travel from this end of, using it as a voice. We all know that at our own climb, a lot needs to be addressed. A lot is being addressed. And I dare add that travel can actually be used, you know, to to um to give us a fine tuning, especially at this crucial point in our nation. So yes, travel is the loudest voice. When you're meeting foreigners for the first time, you are probably meeting them because they have traveled from one point A to point B, or whatever point they are coming from. So the first thing the first thing that you know about a country, probably you are going to be knowing through travel. So it's a very crucial topic that we're having tonight, and I'm glad, I mean, we're taking this up. Next slide, please.
Yes, we're there.
Why travel protocol? Why travel protocol? According to UDHR, of course, and all of us say this, everyone has the right to movement of freedom. Yeah, you can go wherever you want to go. And apparently the UDHR has 30 rights, that are put down on paper. And one of them, the Article 13, says that we all have the right to move from one place to the other. And when we say place, nation to the other. So I think we should also assimilate that and allow that to rest within us, that regardless of nationality, regardless of color, regardless of where we reside, we all are, as long as we're human beings, first and foremost, we have the right to move from one nation to the other. But hey, that right hasn't called anyone to be lawless. And I think that's why we need to talk about travel protocol. Protocol has to do with rules, policies, guidelines for anything. So you can't say because, oh, I have the right to move, then I can just do it anyhow. No, 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 no. Okay. And then secondly, IATA says that, by the way, IATA is the body responsible for guiding air travel movement, right? And it says that even handling the business of air travel, you can tell that there is complexity around the activity of travel. There's complexity, there is variableness around what is meant to happen in one nation, even for the aircraft to move, not to talk of us, the passengers. So there are different requirements, there are different variables, there are different policies that could really, really be daunting for someone who is not schooled properly, in the business of travel, or who is not frequent as we use, in the industry. So yes, because these complexities exist, then there must be proper exposure, if not even continuous on a daily basis, for what people should expect, travelers should expect when they're moving, from one place to the other. And so that's also another reason why travel protocol is very key at this point in time. And number three, yeah, we all agree that whether we're traveling for leisure or we're traveling for business or we're simply meeting our families and friends, we want to make our movement 100% meaningful and memorable. And as a matter of fact, because again, our nation is the one that is really dependent on visas. We are still not that privileged to be considered, visa free as it were with some other climes. Our nation, so in every visa application, you will see this question that says purpose of travel. Right. So that again necessitates the need for us to have the topic of travel protocol, to discuss it all the time. We want to make travel 100% meaningful. We want to make it 100% memorable. Then, if we're doing those two, then we should make it 100% protocoled as well. It should be guided. It should follow set rules. Yeah. So we can't just do without the issue of travel protocol. Nowadays, we can move on, please.
Yeah, next slide.
Now we're going to start, getting down to the real business of the day. I could have read some of the real life scenarios that I have had to come across in the course of handling travel businesses or travel activities for our client. But for the for the sake of time management, I'm just going to be, you know, um, pointing them as it were, as they are related. We're going to go into what is trending now. What are the real life scenarios? And I'm sure they are not new to majority of us. Like I said at the introduction end, this I'm probably speaking to, not probably, I'm sure I'm speaking to people who are even more vast as far as travel is concerned. But again, there may be some of us here who some of the experiences we've had, for instance, with visa application, is as old as 10 years ago, right? So we're not abreast of what's trending, what's new, right? So let's just, dive into it. Number one, we need to be aware that this is an era where um, breaking down of borders is happening, whether we want to go by what's trending popularly with regards to the US or not. We also need to know that some nations are coming up with travel bubbles. I know that recently Kenya, for instance, declared Nigeria visa free. That is a breakdown of borders for us, Africa to Africa. That's really trending. So, in case we're thinking, oh, where can we go to as Nigerians? Because you get people asking you these questions. Where can my green passport? The green passport, by the way, let me quickly mention, is not a sentence to death or a limited lifestyle. We will get there as a nation. Let me just put my voice to that. But then we also need to know that there are countries as of today that will still allow Nigeria Nigerians to travel visa free. For instance, Kenya is one of them. Even some of the Europe to Europe, not to us Nigerians now, Europe to Europe already, the Schengens, they have their own borderless trip. Once you have a multi entry visa for one Schengen country, you can move across different Schengen countries. That is a very good example of breaking down of borders. I learned, even though I cannot confirm as of now, if I think the the Middle East. I think they too are trying to come up with a travel bubble where once you gain entry into one of the countries, then you can access. It's not confirmed, so I'm not going to dwell much on that. Um, as we're having breaking down of borders, we're also having the building of walls. And I'm going to tread carefully here. But a recent one that we have is the US that says, A, as Nigerian citizens, for instance, we can no longer have, it used to be 2 years multiple entry. At some point, things became, you know, more interesting, and then it became 5 years multiple entry. And then right before our very eyes, most recently, we're hearing is now 3 months single entry. That's a typical example of building walls. The US rule for visa, for some visa categories, changed right before our very eyes. Somebody who is still holding, the 5 years, that's even too recent. Somebody who hasn't applied for US visa in the last maybe 8 or so years will probably be oblivion of this, right? It's going to be coming as news when the person is probably perhaps ready, to get the visa renewed. um, UAE is another example for us Nigerians of building of walls. We all know what I mean. Dubai used to be London, mini London, in the last couple of years. But just recently, post COVID, we've had different issues, and it's an issue that every day you wake up, you hear something about UAE visa processes, and you're like, oh, this is becoming too daunting. So that's also a typical example of building of walls. And it's also it's very pertinent that we're bringing it on this platform because the building of walls, the breaking down of borders, has everything to do with diplomatic missions most of the times. So is also doesn't answer to hearsays, or maybe somebody has done something or somebody is not doing something well. Some of these rules answer to diplomatic policies here and there. Some we don't have control over it as citizens, but the people that are concerned, I'm sure they know and they know what to do. So we just leave the issue of breaking down of borders and building of walls on that note. And we move quickly to visa processing, complexities, and seasonal consideration and frequent changes. The There's no way we're going to be talking about travel protocol. And again, because our country is heavily dependent on visas for us to move from point A to B, that we're not going to be talking about visa processing. And believe you me, there are there are step by step things to note when it comes to applying for visa. There is seasons and timing to also note when it comes to visa. For instance, there are standard rules for most of these countries that you need to give clear between 3 months and 6 months to put in for your application. So you're going for summer, you should have, and you don't have a visa, then expectedly the best time to apply for your visa should be, say, February or March, as the case may be. But what do we have in our climate? We have people who are knocking on the doors of most of these visa processing application centers. They want to travel in August, and they're putting in the application in July. And then everything becomes a mayhem. There are hiccups because you can't. I mean, you can't even decide the. Sometimes even the processing timeline is not stated clearly, as it were. But even when they are stated clearly, we still have our people, do things not just putting into consideration. These are set down rules that we can't just jump if we really want to have 100% travel protocol system in place. We also need to consider the frequent changes that happen, with all of this visa processing. And like I mentioned, the typical case is UAE, where 1 minute they will say, okay, people with transit can travel. The next minute they will come, oh no, you can't travel again if you are 45 years and older. These things, they happen within twinkle of an eye. Most of the times without any information, you just wake up, you are hearing it, and you must adapt. So we need to consider that scenario when we are, those things are trending, and we need to consider that. Again, another thing we need to also know is ticket rules and port of entry regulations. Um, Travel protocol won't be complete, without us talking about ticket rules. Ticket rules is not just saying, oh, I've seen this I've seen this fare online, or it's cheap, or oh, there are so many things, to consider when purchasing travel tickets, online. For instance, you want to consider number one, which route is this ticket taking me through? And I'm going to give a live scenario here. Someone who is given a single entry Schengen visa. You probably will not take note if you are not frequent on that route. But you're given a single entry Schengen visa, you want to go to a Schengen country. Then, because you have a UK visa, you also want to go into England. And then you want to come back using the same airline, the same route back to Nigeria. I mean, I bet you would have to buy a new ticket. There are no two ways about it. So you need these are rules and regulations. You cannot go into a Schengen area on a single entry visa and come back in, whether you are entering their country or you are just passing by the airside. It's a no, no, no. But if you're not aware of that, for instance, you're going to be spending extra money buying a new ticket, because the ideal thing would have been use your single entry visa either prior to entering England or after, and then you find a way to either enter through England or exit through England. So I mean, well, we're moving on. Another thing to also note is the in-flight general decorum, and this is where some of the issues also lie when it comes to travel protocol. Just recently, I was on a trip to Gambia, and when we're boarding for our return flights to Lagos, I mean, we just heard everybody's on open seating. So there is this open seating. What we're used to is assigned seating, whether we're traveling locally or globally. Most of the times, your seat is pre-assigned. But in this instance, you hear open seat. Number one, there was commotion. Trust our people. Some of these videos that we see online, they come as real as they are. But what informs those videos? If a foreigner is seeing those videos, for instance, what do you think will be going through that foreigner's mind? But the truth of the matter is, we're seeing those barbaric and very funny videos out there just because something hasn't been done properly when it comes to that particular activity. You are you it, as soon as you declare open sitting, there is overcrowding at the body, because what that says to an average person is, you don't get in that flight, you remain in that particular destination at your own risk. Probably you are vying for time, you are vying for another appointment, so everybody wants to get on the flight. But then if we're all, aware of some of these things, we can probably take things in good strides and manage the situation better. Some of the things that we also need to note about in-flight general decorum is um, the overhead compartment. And I'm very particular about this one because it's a safety issue most of the times than we would even acknowledge. you know when you have your own, trust us Nigerians, you should have one hand luggage, but with that one hand luggage our personal belonging is as big as our hand luggage. So this compartment, the space for each person is almost non-existent. By the time one person who is having duty-free bag of filled with chocolate, personal bag, and luggage is taking the space. We just need to be considerate of other travelers, of fellow travelers. Is also part of travel protocol. And this says a lot about us. I don't know what it is like, in recent times, but I remember when I first started traveling, it used to be so obvious when you're leaving the so-called the North Americas, the Europe, and you are taking the final lap of your journey to Nigeria. It's a totally different ballgame. Same people, different experience. We've all been coming from that far, and everybody has been at their best. But the moment you are on the last leg coming home, it's a different ballgame. And then it begs the question, why are we doing this? Is it that we don't know better, or we just care less? But I'm sure after tonight's meeting we're going to be a little bit more conscious, about how we do go about some of these things. One of them is also the reclining seat rules, especially when we're traveling with children. They may not know better, but that's why we're adults. That's why we need to tell them, because again, they're growing and they're going to become brand ambassadors of our nation, right? I'll quickly move into cultural sensitivity and respectful representation, when we get to our destination. This is also a very key point to note when we're observing our travel protocols, or when we're, trying to comply, with what is happening. There's a recent scenario, maybe not too recent, of a Nigerian delegate that were denied entry into Saudi Arabia. And what was their offense? Not because the visa was wrong, not because they are taking the wrong aircraft, but the offense was simply they were not conscious and respecting the Ramadan protocol at the time they were arriving in Saudi Arabia. Some of these things and some of these news, when we hear them, we're quick to think, oh, somebody somewhere has done something wrong with regards probably the documentations, or maybe the flight, process. No, sometimes it's just a case of cultural insensitivity. It's a case of you want to go into Qatar now, and I'm using Qatar deliberately because that has taken over from our dearly beloved UAE that we were all used to. But it is there clearly on their website, even while you are processing your visa, that you will need to respect, our dress code when visiting some particular places. That is a clear case of travel protocol. If you flout it, you flout it at your own risk. You flout it at your own risk. If you're traveling to Singapore and you overstay, a place like US will still be, while they're still offering, and Singapore is clear. You overstay a day, it's a death. Is it death sentence now, or life? There's something very stringent with Singapore visa entry rule. So we need to be sensitive to these things, and we need to take them serious, because really protocol business is a serious business. Travel business is also a serious business, whether it's for leisure or not. It's a serious business, and we need to take it, as such. I'm moving to the next slide. Um, I'm sure this is an area that everybody would want to, yes, let me know my right, let me know what is applicable, in case in fact, just recently I put up a video on my, just yesterday I put up a video on my status, WhatsApp status, and one of the passengers that catered to said, please, can you just share that video? They are not going to hear the last word from me the next time this, because something happened and she didn't arrive with her luggage. And so I said, oh, everybody wants to claim right. Well, that's on a funny end of things. But yes, when it comes to travel, there are really rights that are applicable to all travelers, and we need to also be aware, of them. But one of the um, first um, first things to note, where missing flights are very common nowadays. But one of the first things to note is for us to first of all take responsibility. Where, and I'm speaking for myself here too, we're not a time conscious people. So, and we need to respect time. You cannot be all about travel and you will not respect time. Again, right from the process of even applying for visa, time is very key. More so importantly, when you are getting on an airplane, whether it's domestic or international airplane, those airplanes are scheduled. They are moving with time. They have time to take off, they have time to land. They will not wait. They will not wait for anybody. No matter how much we are so much into, do you know who I am? And I'm saying that consciously and respectfully. They are not going to wait for anybody, because it's a business of time. Air travel business is a business of time. So we need to really, really be conscious of missing our flight. We need to know that sometimes there are peak traffic period. So consider that before you leave your home to the airport. Give it time. Global standard is you arrive at the airport 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours. In those days, 2 hours was very common, or 3 hours. But nowadays, we even advise 4 hours to arrive before your scheduled takeoff time. It doesn't cost any. You're traveling that day anyways, so we can as well put every other thing on hold to just ensure that we're at the airport. And flight tickets aren't cheap nowadays, so we may please we may as well make up our minds that come what may, I'm not going to miss, you know, my flight, right? We can always set reminders, for some of these activities. Let's set reminders. Let's put all our travel documents in place. And really, anybody can be a victim of a missed flight. I have missed a flight, you know. Yes, recently, and interestingly, it's a domestic flight in North America. Why? I forgot our passport at home, and they were not going to take any other form of ID, not my driver's license. I didn't even have the international driver's license on me. And they don't listen to pleas. Maybe back at home, we can say, Oga now, but no, internationally, they won't listen, even though it's a domestic flight. We missed that flight. Was a big learning curve for me. So you can't tell me otherwise. I'm traveling tomorrow. All my passports are mostly probably by my pillows. You are waking up, the first thing you are seeing are those travel documents. And it's not limited to passport. You're traveling with your children, your spouse is not traveling with you. Have you got the right documents to allow you move with those kids, pass through immigration, successfully without any hitch. That is travel protocol. There are documents. You are traveling with your niece or with your nephew that is underage. There are documentations to carry for immigration to pass you through successfully. That is travel protocol. Then flight delays, disruptions, luggage loss, and passenger rights. Yes, um, there is this thing that the airline has. It's a policy. Um, it's called a flat tire policy. I mean, it's there for everybody to take advantage, but it's used discretionally. When a flight is delayed, or you have also missed your flight, but if you have made a good effort to arrive in good time, you can plead your cause. Or there is a flight delay, which we experience mostly in our own client. There is flight delays, flight reschedules, and the airline is not doing anything. You can just ask them. I mean, those are the check-in counters politely, if they can onboard you, because there is the code share rule also that we can take advantage of. Maybe it's not so common in our own client, but overseas the airlines have code share rules, such that if they cannot carry you on the scheduled flight that you were originally meant to be on, they can onboard you with their partner. But then we have to also be polite when we're asking for some of these things. The policies are there for us to take advantage of, but those policies don't answer to shouting, harassment, or do you know who I am? And I'm sure we are all familiar with a recent case, in our time, without mentioning any names, right? Um, we also need to be conscious of flight booking errors and their repercussions. It's good for us to be able to say, hey, I have this flight fare, and I mean, I've seen this itinerary and it's very cheap. Have we taken the time to go through the connecting time that the particular itinerary is giving you? And our connection time, it will be good on paper, but in reality, I don't think anybody wants to be caught with all of the issues of having to jump from board, I mean, from one gate to the other. Let's say, for instance, if you're flying through um, Air France Airport, I mean CDG, that's Charles de Gaulle in Paris, for instance. That's a really massive airport, really big one. The gates even get changed on you. Yeah, you have been given a gate on your boarding pass, but while you're waiting to connect, they will be announcing, if you are not checking those information trace, at intermittently, you will just realize that you are sitting at gate A. Meanwhile, your new gate, the gate to board, is gate E. This is an airport that has metro system passing through. It's not our own walking distance from Terminal 1 to the new Terminal 2 that we have now. So if you have been given, or if you are holding a 1 hour connecting time itinerary, for instance, are you going to get lost and be found at gate E, where the change has taken place? So please, one of the rules of ticketing is take caution of the connecting time. It is very key. Even the best of travelers, the best of experienced travelers have these experiences, and I'm sure many of us who are on this call can attest to that. So let's not gamble again with our itineraries. Let's allow enough time. The standard is 2 hours connecting time. You can do 3, you can do 4, and many cities now and are even using the connecting time to open up their destinations. So you can pass your connecting time, and for those who require you visa at entry, you can just get a transit visa at entry. I know Turkey used to have that in the good old days. We're praying that those days return, where you have US visa and UK visa, you're passing through Istanbul, all you just need is, get your transit visa right at the airport, go into town, come back to connect. We don't have that anymore. But again, we don't have it because we have also the flouting majority of these travel protocols, right? And so we need to do better as a people. It's just a reminder, and that's why we have this platform. Um, Another scenario of what's trending in travel protocol is eco-friendly items and fewer items if we can help it. We just have the entire world is talking sustainable travel. The entire world is talking eco-friendly, leaving your environmental footprint. How are you going to leave your environmental footprint if we also are not familiar with some of the protocols that come with getting items, on our trips, right? Let let's Number one rule is if we can avoid it, if we can, let's stop buying all sorts, all sorts, all sorts. And this is mostly in the case of business travels, especially the entrepreneur end of it. Oh, this thing is very cheap in China, and we're just shipping them home, and they're causing harm to our own nation, because most of these items you use them once or twice, they're not useful. Oh, it's good souvenir for events. How useful, how durable, how eco-friendly are those items that we're shipping into our nation? We need to also be conscious of this. It's not everything that we see on our trip that should go home with us. If we are to be, eco-friendly, you know, enough, right? Then let's also, of course, the global rule is the 3 R's where it comes to being sustainability conscious. It must be reusable, it must be recycled, and it must, what's the third one now? I know about reusable, recycled, and what's the third R? Pardon me. For the life of me, I can't remember. Yeah, but I know those are standards, right, to follow when we're picking up products. Again, on my last trip, I did something consciously, and it's also because I was aware. And it was just last month or 2 months ago when the Global Environmental Day was being marked. It just happened that I was traveling at that point in time. And I just said, wait a minute, Toyin, you can do something differently on this trip. So what I did was, rather than putting some of my wigs in, usually I would have used a, a plastic, all those are plastic. I said, no, 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 I'm not going to use a plastic. So I got a paper folder, and I just kept my wig in that paper. At least in my own little way, I've done something. And I believe that, after tonight's call, every one of us, will be willing and conscious enough to do things differently when we are traveling. Why not reduce the plastics that we're putting items? You want to buy wigs? Why not take out all of the polythene bags and just go home with your wig, flattened, well flattened, reduce crossing all of these items from one place to the other. I think doing that would have contributed our own quota, to sustainable world that we all crave. I'm on slide 7 now, and
Tony, I think I have to stop you so far. I think we'll continue this conversation next month. We'll take a part 2 of it. It's been very interesting. The whole lot, like this slide, we're talking about eco-friendly and reusable. Even in event management, we advocate reusable and eco-friendly items. So it's an interesting conversation. But I have a few questions for you from by our participants. From Abimbola, the issue of why would an airline declare open sitting? That is one part of the question. Why would an airline declare open sitting? Will it not make it difficult to account for everyone in the airline? Can we get a response to that?
Um, in all honesty, I was also coming across that policy for the first time on that trip, right? Yeah, but by the time I did a bit of research into it, actually airlines declare open seating sometimes, and in most cases, when when they are connecting from nearby airports that they are going to be picking. So it happens mostly in regional travels, not not so domestic and not so international as to country. Yeah, international but regional end of this, where airlines would stop at one point. No, sometimes your ticket rule will say this the airline is going to stop for 4 days. So regionally, some airlines actually stop to pick additional passengers, you know, and it's not something that is done frequently, but yes, they have that policy and they can defend it, and they have a way of accounting for everyone. Really, well, you can be on that trip until they are certain who is meant to be left on board and who is meant to have gone out. They will move. So they have protocol in place also to to balance things up. But it's a policy that is there, and it's good we are aware of it, so that we don't go
Oh,
into chaos when next if we happen to experience that.
okay, thank you so much. That's very clear, and we know that you've told us it doesn't happen frequently. It happens around regional flights. So my next question is this: are there new procedures for travel procedures for British nationals into Nigeria in view of what we are seeing now?
Um, okay, I won't want to be particular about British nationals, but there is a new procedure to and for foreigners to enter into Nigeria. There's a new website. Uh, it should be somewhere on this slide, but because we're cutting short at this moment, but maybe when next we come on board, we'll bring out all of that. Yes, there's a new procedure for foreigners to come into Nigeria as of now than what we were
Okay,
used to. Yes,
okay, than what we used to be.
yes.
Okay, Tony, let me take you on the issue of flight delays, disruption, and luggage loss and passenger rights, particularly in our country, Nigeria. I had the privilege of looking at the NCAA Regulation 2023, I think part 19 or so. It talks about compensation. It talks about passenger rights. It talks about creating awareness. That's the agency creating awareness, educating Nigerians on the need to know their rights. Have we really, really done enough in terms of passenger rights, in terms of compensation, looking at flight delays and disruptions in Nigeria?
Um, Again, I'm going to say until recently, a lot of travelers are probably have been kept in the dark with regards what rights is open to them with all of these delays and flight disruptions. But I think we have a very vibrant management at NCAA right now, at this point in time, in this era, that is making good effort. And I mean, leveraging new media, all the social media, Instagram, LinkedIn, not LinkedIn, Twitter. If you are conversant with Twitter, you will almost always meet with Mr. Aki. Sorry, I don't want to bastardize that name. the pronunciation, I'm being careful with it. But he's the one in
Is
charge
it
of.
Mike Ajimogo?
Yes, Mike, Mr. Mike.
Yeah.
Yes. He's doing a fantastic job at this point in time, educating, informing. In fact, they have an email where when you have all these flight delays, and it's not just even for the domestic. So I told you when I did start this presentation about one of my clients who, and I would have loved to even start with that chat, but I don't want to disrupt the flow on my phone. I mean, they were traveling to England and they were passing through Air Maroc. And, when you have done all the needful and you thought these people should have landed, and I mean, an Air Maroc, by the way, not speaking for any airline, has a very short, passage in terms of time, into England. And then it was night, and I'm hearing Mrs. Ojo, good evening. This is just to let you know that our flight has been delayed in Casablanca. If that is the only issue, it's fine. But no, there's more to it. Now, what they were telling me was we're delayed, and we realized that as Nigerians, I can't remember the way they put those, expression. Maybe as Nigerians or as blacks, they were the ones not given any attention, nothing whatsoever. They just left them there. Whereas there were other nationals, you know, having that experience, and they were being taken care of. And I said, oh no. And that was the time that we were also engaging, because yes, what I didn't mention while introducing myself is to say I'm also part of NANTA. That's the body that represent travel agencies in Nigeria, right? I'm part of them. I belong to the Lagos State chapter of things. That was the period that NANTA was beginning to engage, have engagement with NCAA. So the information was right there at the back of my pan. I said, no, there's no issue. Just send a mail, to this person. Let's take it up. And I mean, at least for the moment, they, sometimes when some of these disruptions happen, what we need first and foremost is that human understanding, is that acknowledgement that something has gone wrong. I see it, I acknowledge it, I'm sorry. Even if we can't do any other thing, that's because really flying for some people is a whole lot of work. So when they are now meeting with disruptions, it makes every other thing just go AWOL. But if you are able to give them at least that first contact attention, and so I think NCAA at least is offering that. And I can say also that they've been able to resolve some of these issues that that come to their table, if I could speak on their behalf.
Okay, thank you so much. You've done very well. You've done justice to most of the questions. Uh, in our part two, we'll look at the issue of travel procedures of other nationals into Nigeria. However, the issue of um, flight delays, flight disruptions, passenger rights, I think we'll still need to do the citizen education. That's where ACCPN and others comes in. It is our place as Nigerians, as citizens, to continue the advocacy, to continue the citizen education, because it is written in the books that you need to be compensated. And most of us don't even, know these rights. So, Tony, I want to thank you so much for a wonderful evening, wonderful conversation that we have had today. By August, we will take the concluding part of this conversation. You are the first person to have a part one and part two. That shows that shows the conversation tonight as is an interesting one, is insightful, it's an eye-opener to a whole lot of us. I want to
Okay.
thank you so much for your time despite the initial hiccups and delays, but you are still faithful to the cause. Thank you so much. Definitely, I will still see you again on the 30th of August so that we can conclude this conversation. People, all the people in the house, give Tony a thumbs up. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. Franca, are you there? Hello, Franca. Franca, are you there? Bimbo.
Hello, Julius.
Yeah,
Everyone.
Franca, can you give us an
And thank
update? Give us an update of the upcoming conference, please.
Okay, good evening, everyone. It's been a wonderful evening having to hear from Madam Toyin this evening. Madam Toyin, thank you so much. To everyone, wherever you're listening from, I want to say a warm welcome to the ACPPN platform. Concerning our upcoming program, which is being slated for November 2025, we'll be having our conference. Right now, the best information we have to give out is to say it is in October, and I'm sorry, it's in November, and we're having it between the 15th. If you give me a minute, I'll confirm for you. Sorry. Okay, it's okay. I'm sorry, I'm having challenge getting to my phone where I have it stored. But it's for us to know that that's when it will be taking place. And it's going to be a 2 days event coming up in November. And I have the date right here with me. It's going to be between 13th and 14th of November, 2025. So I want us to look into our calendar, put down the date, pen it down, and look forward to the great gathering that will be happening at that time. We'll be reaching out to some of you for different activities that we plan to put in place for that period. I encourage each and every one of us to please bring in our best strength, put in our best foot forward, and give us the support that we need. We might come to you for support from different angles, from different perspectives. So we're asking that you plan ahead with us and give us your support when we come to you. Thank you, everyone, and have a lovely evening.
Thank you so much. As you've heard, we're having our national conference in November. It will be a gathering of all protocol practitioners, industry makers. Our aim, like I told you in the opening, is to promote protocol practice and enhance professionalism. So do well to attend that conference. Yeah, Bimbo, let's hear from you. Madam Bimbo, can we hear from you? Okay. If you are interested in joining the ACPPN, do well to follow us on our website, www.acppn.org. Follow us on all our handles, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn platform. We'll give you the forms you fill and pay the necessary fees, and you'll be part of this whole community. Let me also use the opportunity to thank everyone, particularly our new entrants, Noella. Noella, thank you for joining us. our founding president, Honorable Patricia Kenneth Divine. Thank you so much for having you again. You've always been part of all the editions. Thank you so much. And every one of us, Bimbo, Donatus, Minabai, FaceLink Communication, thank you so much. And all that have joined us today. Thank you. I will hope to see you again in August for another edition of the protocol, the ACCPN Protocol Roundtable. Samuel Ojo, thank you so much for being part of this program. So we'll see you in August, on the 30th day of August, for part 2 of Protocol Travels. It's been a wonderful one. Do have a beautiful and a lovely night rest from this part of the world. I know in some part of the world is morning, business are just started. But for us here, I want to say good night. From our friend Mutu in Canada, thank you so much for finding time to join us despite your tight schedule. Good night.
Good night.
And
Thank you for
God
having me.
bless.
It's
Okay,
a
Samuel
privilege.
is joining us from the US. Samuel Ojo, thank you so much. Thank you. So, yeah, hopefully see you again in August. We'll have some conversations around this whole stuff. Thank you so much. And good night. God bless.
Thank you.
Good night.